Sehr gut. Sehr gut.
I'm a time traveler from the year 2025, and I've come here to kill you, Hitler.
Oh, not again. I'm never gonna have enough time to finish these paintings with all of these time travelers trying to kill me.
Well, I'm going to succeed.
Before you pull the trigger, can I just ask why? Why do all of you people want to kill me?
Isn't it obvious? I'm a progressive, a liberal, a fighter for social justice. And you are a fascist who implemented a reign of terror. And while the effects of your policies devastated the world for decades, soon we will be able to take back the White House, and we will be able to use the government to force people to follow our great ideas.
You want to use government power to force your ideas on the populace. Me too! That's fantastic!
What? No. Ugh. You and I have nothing in common. What I'm saying is there are people in our time with dangerous ideas, and we need to silence them.
Silencing those who disagree with you. I do that too! Oh, wunderbar! Oh, the Nazi movement will not die with me.
Don't give me that! I'm enlightened, and you're as bad as... well, as Hitler. Listen, what I'm trying to say is we are very close to implementing a utopia, as long as we can get rid of some certain undesirable people groups.
Yes, like the Jews.
Yes, like the Jews. Oh.
So, in the future,
Oh.
you also do not like the Jews?
Well, no. But we don't believe in segregating all the races like you do. I mean, except for, like, graduation ceremonies. In dorms. And hiring practices. Oh, and admissions policies. That sort of thing.
I, too, am a fan of the segregation. I'm sorry, I have to ask, is this a real firearm, or is this some kind of toy for kids?
It's a flare gun. I'm trying not to support America's toxic gun culture. I'm a firm believer in gun control.
Gun control! This was one of my ideas, too. Ban them from the undesirables. Yes, look here. Oh, and your shirt. This is an organization founded by Margaret Sanger. Yes?
Wait, you know about Margaret Sanger?
Jawohl, of course. Oh, she's such a lovely person.
No. She's a fighter for reproductive rights, for women's empowerment,
And the eradication of undesirable populations by means of eugenics. Brilliant lady, very inspiring. I must use some of her ideas in our socialized healthcare system.
Socialized healthcare? That's not your thing. That's our thing.
No, it's very much my thing. Did you know that Nazi means National Socialist German Workers' Party? Nazi is just more catchy. Nazi. Just rolls off the tongue.
No. This can't be true. This has to be some sort of mistake. We are nothing alike. You're Adolf Hitler, evil right-wing fascist dictator, and I'm a feminist restorative justice advocate. And a vegetarian.
You're a vegetarian? Me too!
Okay, I am so confused right now. I came here with a clear goal in mind to kill the most evil man who I've ever lived. Besides Ronald Reagan. But now that I'm meeting you in person, you're not at all what I thought you were. And your painting is actually really good. What do you call it?
I call it Ein Reich ohne Juden.
Wow. I don't know what that means, but it sounds beautiful.
It does, doesn't it?
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to the program. This one I'm basically going to call a special edition. This one I would recommend a pen and paper for, only because what you're going to learn might astound you. I'm going to put all of my slides in this teaching moment. I'll put them over on my locals where you can download them as a PDF, so you can, go through them, you can fact check them, you can see whatever the case may be. Anyway, folks, welcome to the program. Would you please lift a finger and share this program? Remember, my job is to make you the smartest patriot in the room. A lot of the flack I caught in doing the full forensic audit in Arizona was I put you before the lawmakers in Arizona, because the truth is yours. And in those agreements and the audit for the other people was that the Senate gets to control what information is released. I was the only one that wasn't subject to it because I just wouldn't let them put it in my contract. So for me, I value truth and transparency. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. It's a very simple proposition. Now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. So I'm just asking you to go get the free gold and silver kit from my partners at Goldco at jovanlovesgold.com. Just download it. It's absolutely free, especially if you have a 401k, IRA, or retirement savings account, jovanlovesgold.com. And you might qualify to get up to $10,000 in free silver. Also, it's that time of year again. You asked for this to come back because so many people wanted one of these. This is part of my normal life to have a freeze dryer, especially when you, go into the holiday season, have all that extra food. Yep. Scan the code, folks, or you'll see the URL below, but we got $1,000 off. And remember, in your gift giving coming up soon, don't forget one of the best things you can give your family and loved ones is a good book. This one's based on a biblical principle. This one will help you control your food supply. Don't fall for the ones that knocked off my work. This was the first one ever done on this topic. I made an ebook. They knocked it off. Make sure you see my signature on the book so you know you get the right one. Now, I'm going to warn you up front. This might be absolutely the most direct, transparent I've ever been with you about a topic. I don't mean that I held anything back. I mean, my choice of words, how I do this, how I share with you what I share with you. I'm just going to ask you, as I share you this today, which might push your mind to different limits, it may cause you to toss and turn. I just ask that you don't unfollow me, because I'm showing you the truth. There are many truths all over the place in our life, and it is all about truth and transparency. That's the one thing that everybody, right, needs in their life. I'm going to ask you to have patience. This one may very well test your ability to hear the truth. I know it will. I know it will. I'm just asking you to have patience. Patience for this one lesson, even if you turn me off and never listen to my work or truth again because, maybe you can't handle the truth. It's very possible. This program is going to be God and Charlie. There's a reason, just you'll see. And we're going to talk about deception, mind games, and a historical, there's a less that they're putting out there. It's kind of holding back. It's less in truth. It's a little bit of truth, not a lot of truth. And it's being twisted. That's why I say it's kind of less in truth. Because every psychological warfare is based on some fact, maybe 70%, and 30% deception. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to please share this program right now. Participate in chat. Chat's going to be very important for this program. Participate. Make sure you make your voice known in chat. I will put your answers on the screen as best as I can. Easiest ones for me are Twitter, Facebook, etc. But participate. And let's look at truth and historical truth together and see where you end up on this. I'm going to just run a commercial break. just to give you extra time to share this one. And then we'll get started.
This crazy world is telling you your sons can be daughters and your daughters can be your sons. When will the madness stop? Never. So you have to decide, will you comply or defy? They tell us all, you will own nothing, eat bugs, and be happy. Is this why America's largest food processing plants and food supply plants keep burning down? Do you really think this is a coincidence? Of course not. The system is telling us right to our faces what they have planned for us. You have a choice. Comply or simply defy their plan for us all. Defy the system's plan and execute your own plan. Abundant, safe, secure natural food supply. Introducing the Food Forest Bible. This bestseller by Jovan Hutton Pulitzer is the single most complete, executable, easy-to-follow plan for sustainable, self-managing food production for self-sufficiency and food security. For the first time ever, a coffee table, heirloom quality full color book which unlocks the ancient secrets of creating a food forest. Imagine planting in a way which requires no digging, no pesticides, and creates massive ancient food abundance. No fooling. Food forests are the ancient secret to planning and planting once. And have your own Garden of Eden, which will feed your families for decade after decade. Buck the system. Buck the New World Order and order your very own copy of Jovan Hutton Pulitzer's Food Forest Bible. Learn how to create a sustainable, self-managing, natural food production for self-sufficiency and food security for your family. Side yard, small yard, backyard, backlot, or even lots of acres, the Food Forest Bible works for everyone. Order on Amazon, hardcover, softcover, or ebook. Don't comply. Expertly defy the system.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians, the elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd? Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, welcome to the program. This is going to be a little more educational than most. It's called God and Charlie, Deception and Mind Games, and a historical less in truth. It's like the less you know, you can get confused in truth. Less in truth. Anyway, most of you that have been following me for a very long time understand I value truth and transparency. I got congruent in my life a very long time ago. You know that I grew up in less than optimal circumstances. My father made a hobby out of being married 12 times. And it was just, my childhood was very abusive, very punitive, very soul and physical crunching. But at the same time, it's part of what sharpened my mind to what it is. But probably one of the things I learned early on for me was God had a place for me, and I had a direct connection to God. It's probably the most important thing that I learned. And it sustained me through tremendous amount of things, even things where there's no logical reason I should be living to this day and be here. And I take that seriously. And in many times I take truth and transparency maybe too serious because I can't play the brown nosing, kiss your booty, smoozing game. I can't. I have no respect for it. And I accept that about me. I totally accept that about me. But it's not how mankind is at all. So first, let's kind of I want to do a little bit of I'm going to show you a picture, and I want you to put in chat what this picture I put on the screen. Please put it in chat. Please participate. I want you to put on the screen what the picture means to you. Is that okay? What the picture, that's it, just the picture. And Holly, I love you back, and Carol and Frank over on YouTube and stuff, and everybody tuning in, right? Trogdon Casey and Jason and Lish and everybody else, over on the different channels. I appreciate you being here. Okay, let's get started. If you would make this participatory, it'd be great. I'm going to show you this first picture. Tell me what this image brings up for you, right? When I put it on the screen. What does it mean? What does it represent to you? Some people have said sheep and freedom, control, right? Sheeple. What does this mean to you when you see this image? Okay. And so for me, it's the pandemic, and it was a way for virtue signaling a bit. I'm one of these good people, right? Not one of you bad people that are going to infect people, right? Compliance. Zod is with us from down under, folks, and I appreciate you, Zod. Let's see. What does this one symbolize to you? If you're looking at this photo, right? What does it symbolize for you? Of course, communism, absolutely. Control, red guard, right? Same thing, control and communism. So I think we can kind of agree on that one. Here's another one. What does this one represent to you? The need to shave her mustache? I don't know, but what? No, I'm gonna put humor aside this time. What does this one, when you're looking at it, to you? Well, confusion and freak and mental illness, etc. Right? Crazy, brainwashing, fucking Fruit Loop, manufactured mental illness. You can see a lot of things. So there's a lot in that symbol. I'm going to show you another one here. What does this symbol to you? Somebody said godless on the other one, right? Mind altered, mental illness, brainwashing. What does this one represent to you when you see it? When you see this, right? Somebody said illness, slavery. What does this one represent to you? Idiocy, simple, just followers, right? Not questioners, etc. Okay, misguided idiots. Okay, so you can see you can kind of visually identify this one. Here's another one for you. What does this one signal to you? Right? And I know those ones were wearing vagina hats. I know that. I just wanted to know what it signaled to you. Somebody said back there, source was army, sad, whatever. When you see this, right? Wholesomeness, faith, strength, right? Wholesome, right? Smartest people, right? And we know that the Amish, I'm not looking for more of the physical fact. I'm looking for what does it, family values, what does it signal to you? Freedom, right? Old-fashioned beauty, right? You have to admit the Amish women, no matter their size, are very attractive because they're just, right? Pure, just whatever, right? Family, lots of kids. So you can kind of see it, faith and family, etc. Okay. Let me show you another one, and you tell me what this one signals to you. What do you think this one? In your first glance or whatever, confusion, right? And we're not talking about people we agree or don't agree with. We're just talking about what it signals to you. Okay? Broken social fabric, attention signals. Okay, Joe. Queer, they can perfectly have it in the backdrop, right? Mental illness, etc. Okay. Few questions. A lot of those can interchangeably be control or whatever the place may be, whatever the piece or fabric or whatever you want to say, can be or can't be or whatever the case may be. Here's one more. What do you tell me what this means to you? What does this one mean to you? Right? It's just look at it. We're only looking at impressions. We're only looking at what you see. We're only seeing it at quick identifying. Some say freedom, hope in the future, great goal. See, now you're getting it. It's just what it makes you feel. A patriot, faith and grace, right? Someone who cares for others, freedom, standing for what is right or constitutional, patriotism, etc. Thank you guys for participating. You'll see in this one, your participation is critically important. Okay. So if I was to put those into a category, one could be control and mental illness, one could be freedom and faith, God, etc. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many of you, and it's totally okay, your faith is 100% up to you. It is nobody damn business in the world unless you want to share it. None of us have a right to judge. Not a freaking one. None of us is pure enough to judge. Okay? And even if your faith is totally different than mine, I'm okay with that. I am totally okay with that. Right? Because if you were to list me out on paper, I would look like a broken puzzle with tons of missing pieces. I am okay with that. And even with all of my massive broken pieces all freaking over the place, I am totally fine with who I am. Totally ethical. Some of you have said God first a whole bit. So it is totally okay. But I would love for you to participate. How many of you worship Mother Nature? Do you worship Mother Nature? It's just a simple yes or no, or you don't have to explain it, right? Do you worship Mother Nature, right? And now I'm using worship as a very specific term. This is who you worship, not that you respect it. See, it's right. You got it right. I totally respect Mother Nature. But see, I see Mother Nature as God, right? I don't interchange the two, but some of them define it, Mother Nature, something, closest to God there is. Many of you say I only worship one God. Okay, so you follow where I'm headed with it. Let me ask you another question. How many of you worship the sun? Right? I'm in awe of Mother Nature. I am, in some said for Mother Nature, not me. I don't worship her, but I appreciate her beauty, right? Somebody said dirt hugger, tree worshiper. See, it's all over the place, but God created nature. So, and God, for me, God created the sun. But how many of you are, right, sun worshipers? I'm asking where you give your worship, where you give your prayers, okay? You get it? I'm asking where you give your worship, where you give your, your prayers. So are you, put it a simple answer if you would. Okay, this is only yes or no. It's kind of binary, not that type of binary. But is the sun where you worship? Right? Is the sun where you worship at all. And it's not up to us to judge. I'm just asking, is the sun where you worship? Okay, so we've covered that one. Let's look at it this way. And there's a lot of sun worship in all our ancient cultures. You do know that, right? When you see this, which is kind of a combo of Egyptian and ancient Mayan. When you see true sun worship as gods, and you've seen it all throughout history, what do you tend to think about it? Like when you see the ancient Egyptians and their key deity until a certain point in time was the sun, right? Was the sun, which means that's actually who got the worship, right? So you do acknowledge there's a lot of sun worshipers, and a lot of you say, don't worship it, but love it, right? But Egyptians, they did. They worshiped the sun. So I'm asking you, if you were, and yes, God made the sun as well, right? God made the sun as well. And I'm saying S-U-N, sun. You can see it in the photo. I'm talking about the thing, the sun that comes up in the sky, travels around our planet. Okay. And it's what sustains everything we do, right? It sustains everything on it. But is that who you give your worship to? Okay. Is that who you give your worship to? Now, here's your final question. I got two more questions. Here's one question. As best as you can, the picture will have two questions, right? And here is the photo. Okay. Do you do your best, or is it important to you, the 10 Commandments? Is the 10 Commandments, right? Is the 10 Commandments important to you? Right? Is it important to you? Right? I just want to understand where it stands in your life. Is the 10 Commandments something you do your best to, or something that you have reverence and respect for? Is it important to you? Okay. Now, the next question I have regarding this image is, and you're right, Zod, a very fine and good starting point. But amazing. When I look at the 10 Commandments and how confusing man is in laws, and you go back and look at rabbinical law and how many laws there were, it's really a miracle that it could be defined in 10. And if you can get to that 10, boy, you're rocking and rolling. Now, here's my other question. It's important you answer. Where does the 10 Commandments come from? And yes, RJ, this is deep. I'm going to get deeper, right? I'm going to get deeper. But where does the 10 Commandments come from? Okay. And I don't mean who delivered them down the mountain. I mean, where they come from, the mountain, of course. Where does it come from? Where does it come from? Okay. And so now you're getting the picture. It's, God's law, right? God passing it to Moses. And you don't have to agree. You do not have to agree. Okay. And yes, Moses brought them down the mountain. Okay. Etc. Now, the last question I'm going to ask you before I get into the teaching moment if you had to list out 1, 2, and 3, now pay attention, please. I'm asking you what ethically and morally drives your life. What ethically and morally drives your life. And I'll give you a good example. Let's say God first, or maybe you say it's your family, or maybe you say it's your job, or, it's truth. I want to know what drives, if you could put them in 1, 2, 3, what drives your life? Maybe it's the church, maybe it's my faith. Those are all different things, right? But I'm looking for the hardcore 3, right? And I'm looking for 3. Put 3 in there. Is your life governed by family first, and then faith, and then God, or maybe it's government, and then faith, and then God? Try to put in 3, right? So here's an example of what I'm looking for. God, family, country. That's a good example of an answer. I'm just trying to look at, right? I'm just trying to look at where it is. And a lot of people kind of, God, family, country, God, family, country, God, family, country. Okay. Which comes first? Now, listen, right? And Furrier says, that's focus. Politics. We've been focused on politics for a long time, but I'm asking what really drives you, the basis of what you do. And there we go. God, spouse, family. Okay. In the hierarchy of God or faith or church or government or laws, right, or society, and you had to choose one, and try to be serious for this program, and you had to choose one of all of that, right? And somebody answer honestly, thank you, was family, God, country, now God, country, family. So it can kind of be fluid. The number one thing, if you had to nail it down to one, what is the most important for you? It's the most important. Your connection to the church is the most important. God, right? Somebody said God comes first. Can't have the rest without him. God, right, etc. Somebody over here said survival, paying the bills, and family. But some say free will comes first. God, you get free will from God, but yes. Okay. So we're going to begin this journey. And I'm going to tell you why I decided to do this. And I'm going to tell you what the hell it has to do with Charlie Kirk, right? And that's why I called this God and Charlie Kirk, Deception, Mind Games, and a Historical Lesson, right? Because I don't think history doesn't teach every fact, and it's to control man. So I'm going to play a very short video for you, and then I'm going to get right to it. But first, I want to show you something when it really comes down to it, right? When it really, really comes down to it. And you've got a sign where it all comes down. Watch this. I thought this was amazing.
Daughter called me this morning, and she was just saying over and over again, Dad, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Dad, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. As bad as this looks, as bad as this is, I want you to see something. You've got to see this. Open the door, Kenzie. This is my daughter. She was in this car. My God is an amazing God. She's got a little bit of scratches on her hands, a little bit of scratches on her feet. And that's all. I serve an amazing God. If you don't believe in him this morning, you can look at this. That guardrail is on the driver's side. She crawled out the back window, and she was in the road when I got here. My God is amazing.
that just sends chills down my spine. It brings tears to my eyes. That's pretty amazing. Wouldn't you agree? Pretty damn amazing. Now I'm going to show you, and it's kind of funny because I got that video first, and then the next day, somebody shared with me a second video. And I kind of watched the chatter around this second video. And some of the chatter was, oh, they're trying to reposition Charlie. They're trying to do this. They're trying to do this. They're trying to, because Candace Owens said the Jews killed Charlie. And oh, look, it shows where the allegiance is. So I want to show you this video.
So he would turn his phone off to honor the Sabbath. He would come in, open the junk drawer. Everyone has a junk drawer. Open the junk drawer, said Shabbat Shalom, put it in there, turn the phone off, slam the door, and he felt so free because he was unreachable for 24, 48 hours.
Okay. So she's telling the story to Jesse about what it basically equates to their lives on Saturdays. That Charlie would turn off his phone and would say to her, Shabbat Shalom, which means nothing more than have a wonderful day of peace. A wonderful day of peace, Shabbat Shalom. And they would celebrate the Sabbath together. Now, where it was posted, everybody's kind of freaking out that it said Saturday. Where it went is people were called, oh, it's a Jewish deception. It said, we're kind of doing it, told you Charlie was controlled by Jews and the Jews did them in. Watch it again.
So he would turn his phone off to honor the Sabbath. He would come in, open the junk drawer. Everyone has a junk drawer. Open the junk drawer, said Shabbat Shalom, put it in there, turn the phone off, slam the door, and he felt so free because he was unreachable for 24, 48 hours.
Okay. And it's a testament to his practice at home. It's a testament to his practice with his wife and loved ones. We all should turn off our phones, etc. Right now, as a Messianic Jew, I shouldn't really be doing deep training like this on the first day of the weekend or the second day of the you kind of thing. You think about it, because the Jewish Sabbath is sundown Friday, takes you all the way through the night, all the way through Saturday day, all the way to the evening of Saturday at sundown. That's the Sabbath that's associated with Shabbat Shalom. But I watched this, and you're seeing all this disgusting crap out there, Charlie Kirk, the Jews, and all this other stuff. So I want to do a teaching story with you. And I now, every bit of this you can fact check, and I expect you to fact check it. Don't believe me. Be a responsible adult. And fact check it. Okay. I want to give you the historical. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the history of the Sabbath. That's it. You have to decide where this fits in your life. All I am giving to you is the actual factual history, right, of the Sabbath. So the first mention of a day of rest, which is Shabbat concept, right, the Sabbath, comes from the creation story in Genesis 2:2-3. Now, if we had to date it, okay, you then understand how far back in the timeline the Sabbath goes. And at this point, it's a historical note. This is not a command yet. It's just God's pattern. God had a pattern. God had a pattern, and that pattern was on that day he rested. Now, when you go into the next reference of this, trying to track it down, where's the Sabbath come from? Basically, if you looked at the verses, it says on the seventh day God rested, Shabbat, from all his work. Then it said God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. And this is the earliest seed of the Sabbath, establishing the rhythm of a sacred seventh day. So this is where that comes from. Not from our action, from God's action. Okay? Now, as we get into this next evolution, because remember, I'm only covering the actual historical timeline of the Sabbath. And if you'll stay with me, I think you'll kind of learn some interesting stuff if you'll stay with me. Now, the first human command to observe a Sabbath comes in Exodus 16, where they talk about manna, right? And the date, if we were looking at it, meaning a command date, is 1446 BC. Now, this actually occurs before the 10 Commandments are actually given. Okay? And now remember, if you were to ask the devil, if you wanted to get people to worship you, the answer wouldn't be, well, I do this, this, and this. The answer is really only one answer. I would make them or deceive them to get them to turn away from God. Easiest way to do it. And you know, in society, they are killing faith. You know it, you know it, you know it. Okay? So next on our journey for the Sabbath, okay, is God tells Israel to gather food for 6 days, but on day 6, they are to gather double. But on day 7, they must not gather because it is a Sabbath unto the Lord. This is the first instance of Sabbath as a law for people. This is the very first instance as the Sabbath as a law for people. And don't try to jump ahead and don't try to justify, well, it was this, and this is what happened, and this is what it means. Let's get right to the end of it, and then you decide where you are. That's it? Okay? Next. When it became a formalized institution, okay? Here's how that worked. The formal institution comes from the 10 Commandments. Okay? It comes specifically from the 10 Commandments. That's in Exodus 20, 8 through 11. The date's about 1446 BC on Mount Sinai. And God instructs, which I just showed you the 10 Commandments, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. This is the first time the Sabbath becomes a national covenant command, tying it directly back to creation. So all I'm giving you is the timeline, folks. That's all I'm going to do here. I'm going to give you the timeline and the facts. And let's just see where we end up at the end. So it is basically becomes a formal institution in the date 1446 BC, so 1446 BC. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. This is the first time the Sabbath becomes a national covenant to command tied directly back to God in creation. Because remember, it was what God did, not what man did, but what God did. Now we're following this evolution, okay? Now, what happens is, if you look at the Sabbath, it got repeated and further expanded in Exodus 31, 13 through 17. And this is the chapter that basically designs and says what the Sabbath is. The Sabbath is a sign of the covenant of God. Okay? It was a perpetual command for Israel. It was a day of rest, no work, holiness, and identity. This is the strongest, if not the strongest, of the Sabbath passages in the entire Bible. Okay? In the entire Bible. So let's just take a quick look at this timeline. This is historically where it is, just so you have the time periods, okay? Whether you accept when creation was or not, that doesn't matter. This is just kind of the record as it exists. And all of society, by the way, had, in many different ones, had parallel cycles. They had 7-day, what's called taboo cycles. They really didn't refer to them per se as the Sabbath. So now you have the establishment of what is the Sabbath. You with me? And my topic is directly to, okay, the fifth commandment. The fifth commandment. You've already said that God's it. You try to follow the 10 commandments, etc. And one of the commandments is, and it's interestingly worded, remember the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. So now we're going to talk about that concept, right? Because in that video where Erica was talking about Charlie, a lot of people went ape freaking doo-doo, right? Oh, this is whitewashing. This is Jewish crap. And they're trying to protect the Jews, saying the Jews didn't, it's just total junk. So now we're going to drill down to that fifth commandment. Ironically doesn't say keep the Sabbath holy. It does not say that. It says remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The first very thing it's doing is telling you to remember it. Remember when the Sabbath is. Now, stay with me. Don't abandon me. Okay? Don't abandon me. This is only a history lesson. You are entitled to your beliefs. You are entitled to your religion. You are entitled to your faith. You are entitled to whoever you worship. So let's take a look at this. Historically, what you need to understand in this is Jesus, the apostles, nor early Jewish believers ever changed the Sabbath. That's it. Jesus didn't change the Sabbath. The apostles didn't change the Sabbath, etc. The shift from Saturday as the seventh day, right? Sunday was always the first day. The shift from Saturday to making the Sabbath Sunday emerged gradually. Now, it was driven by Rome, especially Emperor Constantine. And I've told you this before, but I'm actually giving you more than I've ever given you before because I haven't given to you the deep dive historically, but you've seen me cover this point before. And so what it was the early Roman bishops, and it was specifically, pay attention, specifically anti-Jewish laws. Now, you've probably never heard that before. But here we are again in a massive war that's biblical in nature between good and bad. And, you see people cutting off little boys' winkies saying they're a girl and little girls' boobies saying they're a guy and whatever. We are top to bottom in a horrific war, a spiritual war, etc. So you have to understand at its basis why this was done is because it was an anti-Jewish law. Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging there. I'm going to take you through it. These are historical facts you can check yourself. Now, when I talk about an anti-Jewish law, okay, here's what you need to know. See, the Bible never changes the Sabbath. The New Testament tells you Jesus kept the Sabbath. That's Luke 4:16. The Bible tells you Paul kept the Sabbath. Acts 13:14, 16:13, 17:2, 18:4. And basically, the disciples kept the Sabbath even after the resurrection. Key point. Please pay attention. The disciples kept the Sabbath long after the resurrection. It's just still the way it was. And just so you know, there is no command anywhere, even in the New Testament, okay, to change the Sabbath to Sunday. Now, there were certain Sunday gatherings. Just stay with me. Don't give answers to the people out there. Don't give answers in chat to people. Allow me to guide people through this, if you would. See, Sunday gatherings, which you'll find in Acts 27 or 1 Corinthians 16:2, were occasional meetings, but what they were not was a Sabbath replacement. So up until this point, I'm telling you, God's telling you, history's telling you that the Sabbath is Saturday. Let's keep on going. Now, here's what happened in this process, okay? And this is an first step that the early Roman Christian church did, and it was based on anti-Jewish pressure. This occurred during 100 to 250 AD. Anti-Jewish pressure, okay? During the first 2 centuries after, right, the crucifixion of Jesus, etc., everybody was still Sabbath keeping. Saturday. They were still Sabbath keeping. I'm just asking you to remember that. This is only a history lesson. You decide what you want to do or fact check. You can fact check every one of these. Now, see what they did is because in the Roman Empire, Judaism was outlawed at various times. It was actually a crime to be Jewish. A lot of them had to do with the Jewish revolts. And basically it caused very harsh backlash where Christians, and now I'm using that term loosely at the moment, because they were actually believers, people of the word, people needed to separate themselves from Jewish customs. Now, I want to see if you'll put in chat, why did people need to separate themselves from Jewish customs? Why would you need to do that? I want you to put it in chat. Okay? Why? And yes, this is very intriguing, and it's going to get even more intriguing. Why did people at the time, during these times in the Roman Empire, need to basically separate themselves from Jews? You're right, because the Jews were being persecuted and murdered, and this was a cleaving, because everything, the Sabbath, a 10 commandment, the Sabbath, Saturday. And so what you had And it wasn't confusing at the time. The Romans are murdering Christians. Jews. The Romans are outlawing being Jewish. The Romans are saying you can't have anything to do with those dirty Jews. And so they used fear, and people under fear started adopting a system that would allow them not to be associated with the Jews. Because if any of the Romans got any words that you were Jews, okay? Any word that you were Jewish or practicing anything Jewish, you were persecuted as well, subject to persecution. Now, that was going on during the Roman Empire. The next step in this process, okay, is when it became the official change. The official change. And that came with Emperor Constantine, which I told you about in 321 AD. And this is the actual turning point cleaving away in world history. Okay? Now, Constantine put out a civil law. On the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in cities rest. This is a government law. This is a government law. Now, I see what you're saying in chat. Well, holy smokes, this is just whether you're complying or not. So what they did, when Constantine's civil law came down, March 7th, 321, and there's a reason he also chose March and March 7th, that most people don't even know the history of that, why they did it on a certain day. But anyway, on a venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and people residing in the cities rest. This is the first legal declaration making Sunday a universal day of rest. Constantine was still a sun worshiper. Constantine himself worshipped the sun. Okay? Constantine worshipped the sun. Now, what this was, so you understand what it was, just so you understand it historically, okay? What Constantine actually was compared to anything else is Constantine, the government, and everything else, they were Sol Invictus, worshipers of the sun. And I'm not even talking about Revelation. I'm not even talking about 666. I'm not even talking about any of that. The best thing to do is follow along, folks. Don't hijack people's thoughts. Don't hijack people's directions with your opinion. I'm asking you just to follow along on a history story. So Constantine and his society and their society was Sol Invictus. Sol Invictus, worshipers of the sun. Okay? Now, this is where, right? This is where there is it's a mandatory Sunday rest originates. It does not come from the Bible. It's totally outside the Bible. Now, as we follow this progression, this is a historical progression. Now, when Constantine did it, it now kind of takes on different things. Under the church councils, they lock in the change in the year 325, 364 AD. And the Council of Nicaea, they locked it in 325 AD. Then what happened is it became unified Sunday worship for Easter. It's got to be on a Sunday. And it totally discouraged the Sabbath, even down to the point that they, in the other councils, they made it paramount. They made it absolute law. Now listen to the words, because they're there. They're not mine. The canon law reads, Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath, but they must work that day. Instead, honor the Lord's day. Now, you see a really interesting change here. There is a Sabbath, and they say, don't you dare rest on the Sabbath. You must work that day. And your rest day, okay, is the Lord days. So this is the very first official church ruling forbidding Sabbath, and mandating it Sunday. When in fact the 10 Commandments, and that's why I pointed out to you, when the 10 Commandments come down, this was just a fact, but specifically said, God, remember the Sabbath. Remember to keep it holy. Key, to keep it holy. You're going to keep the Sabbath holy. Okay? And so as we come down through this time, this is where the church, and most people don't know this, the church forbade and outlawed the Sabbath. The church. Now, here's how it goes on. And so basically, now they're openly prosecuting, hate the Jews, get rid of the Jews are bad, the Jews, okay? So the Catholic Church, where this comes from, because remember, it was the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, the Roman Catholic Church, the Holy Roman Catholic Church, and then generically, as you have it today, the Catholic Church. And I'm not talking about your religion. If you're Catholic, your religion is up to you. Your faith is up to you. This is not what this is about. This is only a historical accounting. And so the Catholic Church acknowledges in all their work. It even says you may read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and you will not find a single line authorizing the sanctification of Sunday. The scriptures enforce the religious observance of Saturday. The Catholic Encyclopedia says the church transferred the observance from the seventh day to the first day. Now, you're probably trying, because if you remember in the program, I asked you, how do these things rank from you? And you're going, you probably realize by now what God stressed, remember the Sabbath. That's a foretelling. And then there's a demand, keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath. Okay? This is where the church transferred observance. It's where the church transferred observance. Now, as we go on through historically here, this is basically the Catholic Church openly claims authority for the change. If you were to look at a catechism documents, etc., and you know how to talk to people or whatever, they basically say when you get the question, which is the Sabbath day? The answer actually is Saturday is the Sabbath day. And then somebody might ask, well, why do we observe Sunday? And the answer is, in their own books, we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church transferred, well, they transferred it. They transferred the right. the key operative words there is the church did it. This is why I'm giving you a history. When God tells you, ironically, remember, he didn't have to remind Moses. Actually, for well over 1,800 years from when this comes down, everybody still practiced the Sabbath. But God saw something and said, remember the Sabbath day. Remember the Sabbath day. And I'd really like people to stop pre-answering. The instruction is to remember the Sabbath day. Remember the Sabbath day. Okay. Now, why did Rome change it? Because this is where I'm getting in, right? Everybody's saying, well, it's the day for fellowship and worship. It is not. It never has been. It is not, which is why I'm asking everybody to stand on topic. One, you have a direction from God. The other, you have a direction from the church. But so now you have to answer, why did the church do it? And here it is. Rome changed it primarily to separate Christians from Jews. After the Jewish revolts, Rome punished Jewish customs. Christians wanted to avoid persecution. Romans wanted people to practice Sol Invictus. Period. That's what they honored. The church, which was Roman law, the church used the unity of people saying, we're the church, which is different. They say, we have the authority. And that's how Sunday became a symbol of the church's power. Sunday became a symbol of the church's power to define holy days. I just have a generic question for you. Please don't run away from this. Please don't run away from this. And please don't pre-answer this. Very few people actually go to historical facts. They just repeat what they're told. I'm asking you, don't repeat what you're told. Go through the whole thing. Question, put it in chat. Does the church have the authority to become over God? Yes or no? Put it in there. Does any church of any kind have authority over or above God? It's just a very simple question. Do you believe the church has authority over God? That's all I'm asking. I am not asking you about your faith or anything like that. I'm just asking you a very simple question. Does the church have authority over God? It's a simple question. Okay, I'm going to keep on going, and I really would appreciate if people would focus on it. So here's what you need to understand. So who changed the Sabbath? Well, it wasn't God. It wasn't Jesus. It was not the apostles. It was not Scripture. You do get that point, right? It was the Roman government. Now, this had to be done gradually over time. And I'm giving you the few historical change. I'm giving you the thing that would define the mark by which ruled your life. because I've asked you these questions. I asked them at the beginning. Are you, one, subject to following government mandates because you just think the following, do you worship the government, so you do follow their mandates? I even asked you, do you worship the sun? I asked you, do you pray to the sun? I asked you, where's your hierarchy in it? Is the 10 Commandments, is it rock solid? Now you got to ask yourself, why 1,800 years before this shift, God would see fit to tell Moses, who practiced the Sabbath, all the people down below practiced the Sabbath, to say, remember the Sabbath day. You got to ask yourself that question. Context is everything. If all of these people everywhere, the Sabbath was that day, Friday evening sundown to Saturday evening sundown, why would God, you know, it's like a commandment, breathe air. God would have a commandment, remember to breathe air, if to give you a commandment, hey, coming up, you're probably going to forget to breathe air. So I want to remind you, breathe air. But you swear that God's first. You swear that the 10 Commandments are it. But I just gave you the full historical change. The reason I did this is because where I saw that video posted, I said, guys, don't you understand you can be a Christian? I'm the only Jew in the group, by the way. I said, don't you understand you can still be a Christian, but keep the 10 Commandments and keep it as the Sabbath? And I didn't ask you who you pray to. I did not ask you who you pray to. I did not ask you who you pray to. That's a whole different topic. Because see, up until this same exact time, everybody prayed to God. That's a different program. When those 10 Commandments came down and Moses came down, everybody knew the Sabbath was Saturday. And everybody prayed to God. So in this change, I want you to understand things you might not have read before. In the canon law, here it is, Sunday is our mark of authority. The church is above the Bible, and the transference of Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. I'm going to read that again, and I want to let you know that little bitty word mark is incredibly important. Because the church needed to make sure people accepted the mark, their mark. And when you read all the Catholic records, here is the fact that is taught. Sunday is our mark of authority. The church is above the Bible. And the transference of the Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. Kind of a weird thing, because if it was in Islam and the church says, I'm over God, it's blasphemy, they'll kill you. This is the difference between historical theology and where you placed your faith. And I'm telling you, 99.9% of the people in the world don't know the truth. I've told you this before, as gentle as it can be. Let me tell you why. People say barcodes. Barcodes is the mark of the beast. Barcode's the mark of the beast. I'm going to show you even more. I believe something different. Because right now, the word will tell you, I'm not going to take 666 on my forehead. Why do you even have 666 on the forehead? It's actually a Roman Catholic thing on the Pope's forehead. I'm not challenging your religion. I'm giving you facts. But you will hear people, it's going to be a digital certificate. It's going to be a transferring node of little dinky, kind of like they did in Balance. They're going to stick it on your skin. I won't accept the mark of the beast. And I've always said this. It already happened. It already happened. And this is why history matters. Because if you don't understand that even in our modern world, that even things like Republicans fought to free the slaves, you would think everybody was enslaved and the Republicans did it. You would think the fight was over slavery when it was over commerce and economic control. Let me continue. Please stay. Justin the Martyr, revered in the church, and can we stop talking about what is in Old Testament, New Testament, all this other stuff, and just focus on the lesson? And let's don't shift people from learning. I personally believe when you got hundreds and hundreds of people in one chat, and somebody decides to give their theological view, and they look, they're going to miss something I'm doing here. Let me teach my history lesson. Hell, I'll even run the show longer to let you chat to oblivion. But here's the deal. Justin, in the apologetics of it, this is called apologetics. It sounds like they're making an apology, but what apologetics means is justification. And the church says we always gather on the day of the sun. I asked you earlier, were you a sun worshiper or not? Okay, so I actually ask people, don't insert what you've been taught. I'm only giving you history. This is why I don't openly say the mark of beast is it has already happened. Because everybody will go, no, it's not. It's when God rides on clouds and comes down from the air. Stop. I even gave you the church calls it the mark, and people ignore it. So just scratch that if it keeps you from learning. When the church says we got people to accept the mark, it's the mark of our power. We are over God. If you want to ignore that, ignore that. Just period. Right? I don't want to get into mark of the beast and stuff. It derailed you, and now everybody's going to go conflict back crap. Don't do it. Just look at some facts here, okay? All through time, as this is going on, when they start writing the first apology, the church has to acknowledge that it and only it gathers together on the day of the sun. That acknowledge Sunday gatherings and never, ever say that the Sabbath was changed by God and the apostles, period. You can go back and hear it. Tertullian. And this is a really interesting one. Others with a greater show of reason take us for worshipers of the sun. He's saying we're being mistaken as worshipers of the sun. This suspicion is mainly due to the fact that Sunday is the day on which we devote ourselves to prayer. Even back then, it started to become a problem. So they had to tweak it. Let's continue. Now, when you get into the later councils, when it became not only government law, but it became church law, was in the year 364. This is the first ecclesiastical law forbidding Sabbath observance. Now, I got a really interesting question for you, because at the start of the program, I asked you to be honest. Who comes first, God, the commandments? Let me ask you a question. Just a very simple, honest, non-emotional question. Does the church have the right to outlaw what God demanded from you? It's a simple question. I'm not questioning your faith. That's entirely up to you. I'm not questioning if you're a vegetarian and don't eat meat. That's a choice too. I'm not questioning your sexual preference. I'm not questioning you anything. I'm asking you the very simple question: can the church forbid the Sabbath, override God who told you, ironically, you better remember this and keep it holy? I just want to know if the church has that power. You will logically say no. You logically know no. Hell no. But what have you been taught? And what do you do? What have you been taught? And what do you do? When you understand Canon 29 said, Christians, this is rule by law, don't you infect other people. Don't you get infected by those people. You ostracize those other people. By the way, because I knew somebody would put it, but on this rock I build my church. Yeah. When those books, some of them, those letters, you think it was apostles. You think it was at the time of Christ. And you don't even realize it was written over 200 years later when this battle is occurring. The fact of the matter is, the law was Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath, but must work on that day. But the Lord's day they shall especially honor. If any be found refraining from work on the Sabbath, let him be excommunicated. This is the critical moment. There was God. There was the worshiping of God. There was worshiping of many things. The sun, like I showed you. Then we get this new thing called the church. Hundreds of years later, coinciding with the battle that was going on and what they needed people to do. And it basically said, Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath. If you do what they're doing, you, like the Jews. And you have to, and I know people are already getting pissed at that because they're giving me excuses. I know that. I told you this will be difficult. I told you this will be difficult. I told you up front it will be difficult. Most people think the Paul of the New Testament, it was the guy that was sitting right there in Gethsemane. And it's not. And it never was. I told you this. I told you this. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. Don't lay it over me. Don't lay it over me. I'm a hardcore purist. I am a hardcore purist. I dig for the truth. Do you know why we have circumcised men and uncircumcised men in the world? Because the church also outlawed circumcision. Because it was a sign of you agreeing with the Jews. The church said, you don't do what we put down as law, we're going to run your ass out of town. I told you I'm going to stretch your mind. I told you I'm going the deepest I've ever gone. I'm telling you, and I know a lot of people will probably unclick follow. And that's the great deception. And this is where we are. This is where we are. This is how deep this is. This is how long this battle has gone on. And various people over time rebelled against the church. How'd they rebel against the church? Your parents demanded you be circumcised. That's why parents have to ask for it now. But there's a big difference. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. But this is the critical moment in time when the church abolished the Sabbath. So let's kind of go through it historically. Here's some of the words. Even Protestant historians. You can find it in every group. The theology historians tell you, even across all religions, that the change was man-made, not Bible-made. Martin Luther said it. It is true that the Sabbath day has been abolished by the church. For Saturday is the day which God commanded to be kept holy. God appointed this, and this is Westminster, by the way. God appointed the seventh day as the Sabbath in the Old Testament. The change of the day was made by the authority of the church. Continuing about history. This is only about history. This is only about history. I know some of you are getting upset, and I got to go. I can't take more. I got it. I got it. But I only promised you truth and transparency. And after all these years, I just think we're at the time to really understand what's going on and what this big change is and what's really grinding at this process of very slowly this has been done. And it rocks you. Changing the Sabbath fundamentally is exactly like the government mandated loyalty signal. It became a public test of whether you were loyal to the Roman Church and the Roman Empire versus identifying with Jews or the older apostolic practices. Period. Are you doing what we say, or you are endangering people? It became the public test of whether you were loyal to the Roman Catholic Church and the Roman Empire. And it had to literally separate you. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't turn away from this. I have already told you, if you got in the beginning, people are vilifying Charlie Kirk and his family for practicing the real Sabbath. You can be a Christian, but practice the real Sabbath. I'm only telling you the difference between the commandments of God and what man made. You are the only one accountable for what you believe in faith, and that's why this is only in historical terms, and you can research it on your own. As we keep on, Sunday became the loyalty marker that I am not a Jew. Sunday became the loyalty marker that I am not a Jew. And when Roman society looked at Christians, if people kept the Sabbath, God's commandment, when he said, why would God say when there was not going to be, for 1,800 years, it was not going to be walked away from? Why would God use the word remember the Sabbath? Because he knew mankind was going to be challenged, and that damn free will might usurp, and you might not know the truth, and you might be getting pulled away. And when they saw you keeping the Sabbath, you're a Jew. You're doing something different than what's right for mankind, because the government knows. Sunday became a visible badge to separate Christians from persecuted Jews. This was not theology, it was identity politics. Identity politics. Identity politics. And what did they pull on us to change our world now? Identity politics, where right became wrong, where bad became good. History repeats itself, folks. I keep on teaching this, I keep on teaching this, and I keep on teaching this. I don't care what you personally call your Sabbath, because it's not up to me. I don't think I'm better than, and I don't think you're lesser than. Let me repeat that. I don't think I'm better than, and I don't think you're lesser than. God even told you your relationship with him and his law is personal. You have to make this decision. I'm only giving you a history lesson. I don't care if you're a liberal watching my program. I don't care. I don't care if you're gay and I don't care if you're trans and watch my program. I'm only here following the mission by God that has been assigned to me for truth. That's it. And people, I keep on telling you, look, they'll use it and they'll do mashups. Jesus is our son, O-N, and that's our Sabbath. Jesus is not your Sabbath. Jesus did not practice Sunday Sabbath. If Jesus was standing right here today, he would tell you the Sabbath is Saturday. You have to reconcile that one. But I want you to understand how this came down. How this came down was identity politics. I know this is tough. I know this is tough. I know this is tough. I love turnips and Brussels sprouts. You don't imbibe in maybe turnips or Brussels sprouts. And frankly, I don't give a shit because it's not a measure of you. I don't think I'm better because I love turnips and Brussels sprouts. And I don't think you're less because you're not. But I can tell you one thing we're all in. I'm literally right now sick to my stomach. I can see people in chat I love and have been with me for a long time having huge problems with this. I'm not here to lead you anywhere. I'm only here giving you historical facts. What you do with this, is you. It says Jesus did away with the work of sacrifice and rituals. That's where I meant he became the Sabbath. Sacrifice and rituals were never the Sabbath, something completely different. You didn't go to Sabbath and sacrifice, something completely different. Sabbath was not sacrifice day. Never has been, never will be. But we can mash the words together, but it never was. It never was. It never was. Here's what happened. During the bar revolts, Rome punished all Jewish practices. They crushed that revolt. And the way they were telling to exterminate you and your family is, were you complying? So they got rid of Torah scrolls. They got rid of circumcision. They got rid of Hebrew teachings. And they got rid of Sabbath gatherings in the places they controlled. See, at that time, I want you to understand Judaism and Christianity at that point. Look at the date, folks. Look at the date. You did not get the following New Testament pieces till after these dates. But until that date, folks, we were all the same. We worshiped God, and our laws became the 10 Commandments. Anything else past the 10 Commandments was church. And what Jesus said, you see this building, you see all these freaking rules, you are only accountable to God, and here are his 10 Commandments. And that's why they killed him. And no, the first book of the Bible wasn't written in 135 AD. That is not correct. It's about 70% of really what it was, and about 30 cents of a change in a timeline later. I just want you to understand this. It doesn't change anything at all. I'm giving you history. But why the system wanted to get rid of Jesus is because he said, you see this church, you see this institution, you see this government, this crap you're doing. No, there's God laws and you have a direct connection with God. Period. 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 And what was going on at the time, you got to understand, so many people were being murdered. And it was easy to identify if you were accepting the old ways. And if you did, they killed you. And as a survival tactic, protecting your kids, protecting your job from cancel freaking culture. You did what it took to survive. You did what it took for your kids to live, to keep your home, to keep your land, to keep your sheep, your cattle, your possessions, whatever it was. Because if you didn't do this, they took it. If you didn't do it, they took it away from you. If you don't do what they say, you can't travel. You can't have a job. They basically practiced the epitome of cancel culture. And this is where socially accepted by the world Sunday emerges. It became the loyalty marker. Are you with us or are you against us? And it was the world's way at the time of not getting fed to the lions. And they didn't, people say, I don't want you thinking I want to kill people. I'm not trying to spread a disease. And it became the social marker that identified you're something different. You understand why I use symbols at the beginning? It's the symbol of, oh, you're something different. Oh, you're a Jews. And by the way, this is not theology. None of this that happened is theology. It's identity and politics combined. It was the loyalty marker. Are you doing exactly what we told you to do? Constantine needed a way. Yeah, and getting fed the lions, think about that. That was your fate. If you didn't do it, you're fed to the fucking lions. They knew, and I tried not to cuss this, and I'm so sorry. Some people will turn off at that. How shallow we are on simple words when we don't understand it's the words that killed us to begin with. Constantine and Sunday law was a political control tool. It became mandated. He had to do it to unite his empire under one civil rhythm. He needed to take the pagans and he needed to bring them into what was going to be approved, which was Christianity, which is something different. Back then, it was people of the word. Before all of this happened, you weren't even really called a Christian. You were people of the word, the absolute word. That's why God, the first word was remember, because he knew it was coming. God knew all that 1,800 years before a lot of this happened, he told you, remember the Sabbath, and told you, keep it holy. But that's not what happened. And because the empire was killing itself and he had to put all of these things together, these moves changed. And that one move to get in all the sun worshipers, who did the pagans worship? The sun. Who did the pagans worship? The sun. And in order to unite his kingdom, they basically took Sol Invictus, sun worship, moved it to Sunday, and it was enforced as a top-down mandate enforced by the emperor upon pain of death. That's the cleave. That's it. That's the merge. Christians must not, and you see the term Christians appears in those 200 and 300s. Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath. It's the Jews. You must be a Jew. Jews are responsible for everything. Same thing the fucking Romans said. Comply or die. Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath, but must work on that day. This is direct coercion. Do not rest on the Sabbath as God commanded. You better work on the Sabbath, and you better honor what we're telling you, Saul and Ventus. You better do it on Sunday. Because if you're a Sabbath keeper, excommunicated means I'm taking everything from you. And they guised the compliance enforcement under religious text because people were driven by faith. And so what happened? Sunday became the test of citizenship in Christian Rome. The test of citizenship. Are you a citizen? Are you complying? And here's what it became: a cultural badge based on a government expectation. It became a cultural requirement that you must pass the compliance test. Just like, where are your papers? Let me see your papers. Just like bowing to the emperors in the street, ironically saluting the flag, but I don't think my flag's God, and I have no problem saluting it. These were public rituals in ancient empires, and it was the Sunday change was to mandate religious conformity and civil obedience. And history repeated itself. And in all this guise of history, if it comes to you pretty, look at the freaking Republicans. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We want, like lawmakers in Arizona, raise $4 million to get full forensic audits in all the states, and then claim they had a $3,800,000 or something like that cost of getting that $4 million in, which one of their family members was the marketing company for that $3.8 million. This has been practiced for a long time. So all I ask you is a simple question, and it started at the beginning. Are you a sun worshiper? Is church what does it for you? What's important in your life? And people consistently think they're worshiping as God wanted. And I think God tells us everything. And in this thing that happened so long ago, he knew something was coming. And that wasn't, hey, keep doing the Sabbath. Keep doing the Sabbath. It wasn't keep doing the Sabbath, folks. It was remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And the church tells you we change the mark because we are over God's word. I know this has been a hard lesson, but it's only been a history lesson. That's it. The Sabbath, Friday evening sundown to Saturday evening sundown. It's never changed. I'm only the messenger. And ironically, messengers get killed all the time, don't they? Yes, I am a Jew, but I'm a Messianic Jew. I'm a Messianic Jew that simply believes Jesus was, in fact, a Messiah, 100%. Undeniable. Undeniable. Some of the other persecuted ones are Seventh-day Adventists. You ever thought about that? I often think about that quite a bit. Jews are vilified. You now see how long it is. Seventh-day Adventists, which practice this, are vilified. Even Messianic Jews are vilified, because even though they accept Jesus as Messiah, Sabbath is Saturday, not Sunday. Church of God, which is the Seventh-day organization. The churches of God, the Ethiopian, right? The Syrian Orthodox churches, the Samaritans, many say, oh, those are just off-spinning factions or whatever. And the only difference is they say Sunday's not the Sabbath. And so why do you hear so much about the Jews being tortured and killed and eradicated? Because they decided God's law comes first, not man-made law. God's law comes first, not man-made law. And I see people out there that are great patriots. A lot of people throwing around scripture. It's just kind of a thing to do. But this has been going on for so long. And I only did this and went to this depth because I'm tired of the crap. I'm tired of the stuff. The Jews. Even to the point, Candace O and other, Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk. And then all of a sudden, his wife tells you the true story. And people are saying it's a con. They're trying to whitewash it. They're trying to hold it up. She's an Israeli operative. She's trying to whitewash it.
So he would turn his phone off to honor the Sabbath. He would come in, open the junk drawer. Everyone has a junk drawer. Open the junk drawer, said Shabbat Shalom, put it in there, turn the phone off, slam the door, and he felt so free because he was unreachable for 24, 48 hours.
For me, I knew when I chose to give you absolute proof and doing the Arizona audit, and when I was willing for them to not even have me do it, and I stuck to my guns and saying, I don't care who you think you are, but I think if you're an auditor, and I think if you're going to look at the drives, and the Senate has total review of what gets released, then you have a chance to lie under Senate control. And I bucked them. And you got the little myth that Jovan's a troublemaker or whatever. No, I stood my guns based on truth. The truth belongs to the people, not to the lawmakers, which is why I have patents on my technology, which is why I did it the way I did, and which is why Zavat said, screw you. They thought they got rid of me. But I said, when you do this, because they were all happy, okay, Jovan's not going to do the audit because they were only going to do a little bit. We're just going to look at this. We're just going to look at this. And then maybe if we find something, then Jovan can do it. And I basically said, screw you. And I said, but let me tell you the truth. I've pledged my honesty to the people. I told the people they'll get transparency from me. And by the way, boys, this is part of transparency. So I'm just going to tell the people what you're up to. And what did I do? Go back. You can find it in my archives. I told you. What'd you do? You picked up the phone and you sent emails to the point it blanked the entire Arizona Senate. 60,000 people. And what'd you get? You got absolute facts in the audit. You got it done. They couldn't go against it because they were afraid to go against the will of the people. They conned you and told you I was going to do it. I told you the truth. They're not going to let me do it. You stood up and you spoke up and you moved an entire government and got it done. Then what'd they do after that? Well, we let them do it, but we're just not going to talk about it. All of these games have been played before. History repeats itself. And the reason you see so much evil and butchering little kids and pedophilia and all this other stuff is because Lucifer reigns. And this is his kingdom. And in his kingdom, you play by his rules. And he's had his rules over you for a long time. So you forget the fact that God even tells you earth is the fallen angel's domain. And once you understand it's us that is in their domain and they're going to do with it what they want, then you understand how this is, because all of us that know the truth are fighting against the most evil in the world to make the truth be known so we, the people, can fight back and eradicate it. And they don't want that to come to light. I hope you appreciated the history lesson today. I hope you're strong enough not to cleave from me and just go on the search for truth yourself. This is why I did it. God's law is one thing, man's laws are another. I love you all. Please share this program.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.
In the dark, mask on, guns drawn, how's that feel? Flashbang mornings, kids screaming, dogs shot in the yard, parade in the park, turn to gulag, now you play the cards. Tear gas, ghosts are choking in the marble halls, your insurrection line while the real coup crawls, shackle like terrorists for a selfie and a prayer, while the real traitors sip champagne upstairs. Can you hear the echo in the concrete walls? 1,500 heartbeats, we refuse to fall. On the indictment still wet with your blood. Judges on payroll, gavels banging like a flood. Solitary key, just 23, hour black. They want us to crack, but we breathe through the crack. Let us till my daughter smuggle past the gods. Tell mommy I'm innocent, carved in the yard. You burn the flag of freedom on a global stage. We'll torture narrative in a white-hot rage. And you feel the tremor in the prison yard ground. 1,500 souls still making pay. Epps on payroll, still walking free, what a play. Grandpa and grandma zip tied on the floor, while BLM tore cities, yo, beg for more. Pelosi's laptop lost, the footage stays sealed. Every lie you stack is a blade we wield. You built the gallows, we'll hang your decree from C to B. Our face breaks free. Can you taste the iron in the air tonight? 1,500 fists ready for the fight. Ready for the fight. Still there, though the world turned its back. 1,500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Still though the world turned its back. 1,500 ghosts in the aftermath. They can lock the doors, they can silence the song, but the fire in our hearts keeps burning on. Birthday candles blown by a collect call ring. Daddy can't come home is the song they sing. Mom's on food stamps, houses foreclosed in the night. Kids ask the mirror, was daddy wrong or right? You stole first steps, first games, first I love you. Turned family photos into evidence for the crew. Every bedtime story now ends with the cage. Your scalpel cut deep, we bleed rage. If you live the chills